Hey guys, how's it going? So what am I working on now? Well, I got this Toyota 4Runner here. I don't even know what year it is. Let me see if I can figure out what year it is. It's a 2004. I got my scanner hooked up. Customer's complaint is a check engine light and it shakes on startup. Now the truck actually sat here for 2 days and I just started it. No shake, at least that I noticed. But it does have a check engine light. It's got 155,000 miles on it. So I got my scanner hooked up. Actually, let me move because the way the light is here, it's kind of glaring. But I want to see what's going on with it. The customer's taking it on a trip. They left it with us because they're leaving this weekend for a trip. So we want to see what's going on with it, or they want to see what's going on with it. So, all right. I got my scanner hooked up. I haven't done anything yet. I haven't even populated it yet. So let's do that. All right, let's shut my light off. All right, so we're gonna go to scanner. And we are a Toyota. And we're gonna do automatic ID, although it's an 04, it might not. I forgot what the cutoff years are for that. It might be too old. Yeah, it does not support it. Okay. So, I'm gonna select everything. Now this scanner that you can get from Snap-on is an excellent scanner to have if you want to do a lot of your own diagnostic type work, or even if you do stuff for other people. Yes, it was $4,000 something. However, it honestly was very well worth it. Honestly, what motor is this? Is it a 4-liter or 4.7? Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. No. Oh, it's a fifth digit. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's a U, so it's a 4-liter. Okay. And I pay for a monthly subscription to have this thing updated because updates are incredibly expensive for these things. But you can do an awful lot with these scanners. Yes, it might sound like a lot of money, but you know what? I do a lot of work with it, so it's worth every penny I pay for it. All right, so codes. Come on. Hello. Let's see what current codes are. Cylinder 6. Well, she said it was shaking, so cylinder 6 misfire detected. EVAP system small leak, large leak, small leak. Okay. Those are current codes. Let's see what we got for history. Same thing. And pending codes. Cylinder 6 and small. Cylinder 6 misfire and small EVAP leak. PO456. Usually a very small EVAP leak. Many times it's a loose gas cap or a faulty seal on the gas cap. But let's pull this thing inside. The visors don't stay down. That drives me insane. I mean, they don't stay up. That drives me insane. Let's pull it inside and take a look. I got a funny feeling with 155,000 miles on it, I'd be willing to bet nobody's ever tuned this thing up. But I didn't notice like a shake or anything like that. So let's get inside and let's see what's going on. One of the other concerns that the customer had, I just got in the shop, was that she said something fell off the car and it says horn. She said it's in the cup holder. So sure enough, here it is. Let me turn my light on. And look at it. It's actually melted right here, which is kind of weird. See how distorted it is? It's melted, but sure enough, horn. So, and we have no operational horn. So I'm going to have to look into that too. So, all right, let's go under the hood and see what we got. Horns are located in a convenient spot. They're right here. Wondering why this one doesn't work. I got to check and make sure I got power there. But next thing is the firing order on this. This is 6 back here. So I'm going to pull that coil out and I'm going to take a look and see what the plug in that looks like and take a look at the coil. But if it's doing it on startup and not doing it any other time, then who knows? I mean, she says it shakes on startup, so that kind of leads me to believe there's something else going on there. It could be a bad plug. Who knows? But let's pull it apart and see what we got. So I got the number 6 coil and plug out. If you look, that's a pretty well worn plug. I mean, look at the end of that thing. See how it's worn in? It's not a nice, crisp, sharp edge. And then look at the grounding electrode, too. See how worn that is? Now, also, let me stick a gapper in here and you can see this. Now, I just laid that in place, and we're at 73 thousandths. The spec is 39 to 43 thousandths, so that's a little over 30 thousandths more than it should be. So we're going to throw a set of plugs in this, and I'm also going to throw a coil in this. And let me show you this, too, on the coil. See how it's got some wetness there, like some oily wetness? But there's really no oil down in the hole that I could see, although that's right at the seam where the valve cover gasket meets, like for the to the head. That is right there, but I'm going to put a coil in it too, just to be on the safe side. I don't really see any burn marks or anything. That's just mud or dirt right there, I think. Yeah. A lot of times if it was burning through, you'd see like a white ashen mark. I don't see any of that, but you know what? Just because it kind of like happens and then goes away, I'm going to put a coil on it just to be on the safe side. So I'm going to get 6 plugs, 1 coil, and we're going to go from there. What else? Oh, the customer's complaint about the horn not working. Let's, let me see if I can't probe this and we'll show you what I'm doing. Alright guys, so I got a test light hooked up here. One end's on ground, here's the other end. And as you see, it lights up. So now, what I'm going to do is I already unplugged this. Never go to the side of the terminal that's going into the, whatever it plugs into. Like this side is the side that goes into it. Don't ever go in there. Go on the back side. The reason being is if you go on this side, you could spread out the terminals and create a bad connection. So let me go into the back side here. It's kind of hard to do one-handed. Hang on. Come on. It's like spazzy jazzy here. All right, and now I'm gonna prop this up on here. Let's do this. So there it is. It's in there, and I got that just resting in place. And now, when I go inside and I manually hit the horn, I have nothing. Okay, why do I have nothing? Let's check the fuses. Now, I did already do this, and I did come to find that fuse number, whatever, this 10 amp right here. Let's see. Does it give a fuse number? No, it just says horn. See that right there? It says horn. So that fuse itself is blown. So luckily I still have a fuse remover here. And let's see. I never did actually pull it out, but yeah, it's popped. So now, oh, you know what? Here, let me stick this in here so I'll show you what a blown fuse looks like when you check it. So now I'm going to take this. All right, see that? It lights up on the one end. Go to the other end, it doesn't light up. See that? Lights, 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 doesn't light. That's how I knew I had a blown fuse. Now, some fuses, I've been tricked in the past. I've actually had a fuse blow or break the leg down further, and of course you check the fuse, and the fuse checks fine, because the actual leg was busted off. So now I think these are spares. Oh no, those aren't spares. Okay, at first I thought these were spares. Let me go get a 10 amp fuse and let's put that in and see what happens. Alright, so there's a good fuse that I just got. See that? See how the bridge is connected? And here is the blown fuse. See how the bridge is broken? So that means it's blown. Okay, so let's put the new fuse in. Didn't mean to go to myself there, sorry. Meant to actually turn a light on. Alright. So, there. Fuse is in place. So now let's do the same thing. Let's back probe this and see what happens. So there we are, we're back probed. Now let's reach inside, hit the horn, and I still got nothing. Okay, why is that? I might just have a bad connection. Let me look into this, hang on. All right, so apparently I had a bad connection going through the back. But anyway, what I did was I took a jumper wire that I have. and I plugged it into the end of the connector there, and then I just ran the other end of the test light here, and then ran the test light to the ground there. You can run the test light either way, it doesn't matter. It doesn't change anything. It's just like a 2-wire sensor. And there we go, hit the horn, it lights up. So I know I know I need a pair of horns now. So let me get the plugs, the coil, and a pair of horns coming for this thing. So I'm in the middle of pulling all the plugs out. I'm on the back one here, and nothing's going wrong. I just want to show you though. Once you get the bolt out, you just pull the coil itself out, and the spark plug is down inside there. So you need a long reach socket like this, or you can use a short one with a long extension. I prefer the deeper, longer sockets. Get it down there, and then you're going to break it free and pull it out. And of course, these plugs on this side are just as worn out. As you can see, they're just shot. Although these don't look as bad as the ones on the other side, which is kind of odd. The ones on the other side look a little more worn out than these. Let's see. I mean, these are shot. So, all right, let me just keep getting these changed over while I'm waiting for the parts. They should be here shortly. So let's just do that. I'm also putting an air filter in it. This thing's disgusting. Now, I'm sure I'm going to get some slack for this. If you notice this spark plug, see, first off, how unworn it is, because it's a brand new spark plug, but you see how nice and crisp the points are? Anyway, this is what I'm going to get flack on. I always put some anti-seize on the threads. You don't have to go bananas. It's just a light dab, a light touch. And you don't want to go into the chamber area where it's going to be actually get a spark. Now, a lot of people will say that, hey, the spark plug already has a coating on it. Yes, it does. However, the plugs I took out of this thing, I had a bear of a time getting them out. They really fought me coming out, and I was afraid one of them might have broken, or was going to break, rather. None of them did. They did come out, but it really fought me. I don't like to fight with spark plugs. So now I always do that. I've heard people say, oh, you put that on, you're going to create a misfire. Never seen it in my life. Never seen a misfire created by anti-seize. I would assume if you saturated this thing in anti-seize, just absolutely globbed it on there, slathered it on there, you know, like a little kid out in the sun when you're at the beach, and you just, you know, basically coat them from head to toe in suntan lotion, or sunblock rather. You know, I could see if you did that with anti-seize on a spark plug, you could have a problem like that. But I've never seen it. I've never had a problem. I do it like this all the time. I'm doing it for 40 years like this. Come on. So anyway, I'm going to put this plug in. Now, one thing, you don't want to drop the spark plug in and then put a socket on it. I've seen people do it. They'll drop the spark plug down a hole and then get a socket on it. Well, guess what? You drop it down a hole, you're going to bend the grounding tab. So take the spark plug, stick it in a socket, then stick it down inside there. So what I'm going to do is, I should get my tripod and do this so you can see it. Unfortunately, I can't get any closer than that, so let me try this. Anyway, so there, yeah, the spark plug's in there. So now, you just go in gently, get it down in place, and then you start threading it in by hand. Hopefully you can see that. Hopefully my arm's not blocking it. Now, most of you are not going to have torque specs. About 99% of the people are not going to torque a spark plug. I know this. So on these spark plugs, oh, real quick, on these spark plugs, you see they have the gasket there. That's a crush gasket. What you're going to do is you're going to get this thing down. It's going to stop by hand. Then you're going to start to tighten it with a ratchet. Now the gasket hasn't made contact yet. I can feel it. There it goes. It just made contact. So now it stopped. So now I'm going to crush the gasket, which there it's crushing. And then all of a sudden it just stopped. It stopped. I can go further if I really bear into it. Don't do it. That's perfectly fine. Right there is perfectly fine. You will not have any issues. So that's pretty much it. I mean, it's relatively simple. So now let me put the coil on. I got to get the one vacuum tube back in place. It's really not a big deal. This vehicle is not that hard to do. So I'm going to put that, I think I said put the coil back on, but that's the new coil. So let me get that on. Then I'm going to do these horns. I'll show you that. And one other thing is this also had that evap leak, and I'm going to show you what that is. Or at least what I believe it is. All right, I got both horns off. You can see that's where they were mounted. Now here is the replacement horn. They give you this pigtail here because you got to run it to a ground. Instead of mounting it to like the body there, basically, because you got to put a bracket on here, I just loop the ground back over onto here, and then what I'll do is I'll put the bracket over top of it and tighten it down, because the bracket gets grounded anyway. So let me show you what I'm talking about. So that's kind of what I'm talking about there. And in this way, when you tighten up the bracket, it's sandwiched in there, and this gets grounded to the body. Now also, the horn itself, you have to have it facing down. You can have it facing whatever direction you want, but you have it facing down, this way water doesn't get in it. If you have it facing up, it becomes a funnel. If you have it facing down, it creates a drain. This way the stuff doesn't, yeah, it's going to get water splashed up in it, but at least this way it'll drain out. So let me get this assembled and get this wired up. And there we go, there everything's hooked up. The original wire that comes out, what I had to do was, it actually had some corrosion in the middle of it. And I was just afraid it was going to create a problem, so I actually trimmed back the harness. I completely forgot to show you that, but I trimmed back the harness, and then basically I just added a connector, as you can see there, to the original harness, and then I split that connector off to this side. Basically what the factory did was the same thing. So now that that's hooked up, it's grounded through these two bolts. Let's see if it works. Okay, perfect. All right, so now let me get this back together, and let me show you the gas cap thing that I was telling you about. All right, so let's come back here to the gas cap. Now, remember, it had evap codes. Now, here's the gas cap. Okay, I'll put it on. And it's going to be hard for you to tell, but just pay attention. Now it clicks. See that? But now watch this. What did that take to get off? Matter of fact, pay attention. It started to walk back initially on its own. But, I mean, it takes no effort. That's no effort, and it's off. And I smell fuel over here. So, like I said earlier, a very common cause of large leak and small leak and everything else, a very common cause is a faulty gas cap. I'm willing to bet it's just the gas cap. So let me switch over this gas cap. I got the new one right here. And it has the receiving ring. A lot of times they don't have the receiving ring. So let me see how, basically I'm going to have to, see how you pull it out like that? I'm going to have to do that, but I'm going to have to do it two-handed. Pull it out and then manipulate it over this one. So let me get that going. I'll probably lube this door up too. See how it's actually gouging into the body there? What happens is the hinge actually seizes up slightly, and you can see some rust in there. Right in there. And what happens is when it seizes up a little bit, it deforms, and it makes the lid hit the body. So I'm going to probably lube that up too. But let me get this switched over, and let's see how this, actually, let's see how this cap fits right now. Yeah, it's spring loaded, and it takes effort to actually disengage it. So, see that? It's not just popping off. It actually takes effort there. So that's actually creating a seal where the original one was not. All right, let's get this switched over. Really all I'm doing is just manipulating it with my fingers like this, and then it'll work its way off. And then basically I'll do the same thing to get it onto the new one. Actually, see the receiving groove in the original cap and the receiving groove in this cap? See the size difference between the two? I can't get that ring on here, so it's going to have to be without. So we're going to do this, and we'll get that on there. Let me get some lube on there, and then let's go clear codes and go for a road test. All right, so that's all done. Let me start this thing up. I mean, I didn't feel any chuggles or any misfires. I didn't feel it the first time either, but I mean, she was complaining of it. Let's go back to the scanner here. It says no codes present, but it doesn't mean anything because everything was off. Connector out. Oh, okay. All right, let me get back into this thing. I may have to back completely out because I had left the scanner on the whole time. All right, I'm not really worried about the codes at the moment. Let's clear codes. Actually, no, let's go to the data real quick. I don't know if this thing's even going to show misfires. Like a history. Come on. Oh yeah, look at that. Well, it's got nothing right now, that's for sure. Misfire test complete, I guess that means. Check mode is off. Check mode, in case you're wondering, that's a thing I can do with my scanner. I can go into what's called check mode. A lot of codes require 2 drive cycles to actually activate. And if I go into check mode, it only requires during that road test time to see if the conditions are there to set a code. So, and it'll tell you, hey, yeah, the conditions are there to set that code during that period of time, because otherwise you can't do that. So, like I said, because a lot of codes take 2 trips from like a cold to a hot and stuff like that. There's different parameters as to why. But yeah, so let's clear this out and let's take this for a road test. All right, so I mean, I've been driving it around. Focusing. And I got no misfires. Everything's good there. I'm confident that the spark plugs being worn the way they were was the main problem. That coil, I don't know, was a little suspect to me, only because it did have some oil on it, which I don't think is from the coil itself, but it's probably from the valve cover. But none of the other coils had that. So I want to make sure. Old school coils used to have oil in them. The new type of coils don't. But I've seen some weird stuff where stuff breaks down inside and creates like an oily substance that shows up on them. But I think that was from the valve cover, what we saw there. But just be on the safe side, I put a coil in it. So obviously the horns are fixed. I'm confident that gas cap was the issue. Sorry about the sun glare there. I'm confident the gas cap was the issue with the rest of it. So, but anyway, so that's it. I hope you got something out of that video. And like I said, gas caps are a very common thing, especially with a small leak. But if you see a large leak and a small leak, a lot of times it's a gas cap because somebody left the gas cap off or it just didn't seal right. And that thing obviously that thing could fall off on its own. I guarantee you it probably rattled off a few times while driving. There was really zero resistance to it. So anyway, all right, hopefully you got something out of that. If you did, hit that like button. If you could, please subscribe. That's it for right now. All right, guys, have a great day. Keep wrenching.